Hello and welcome to my spring break book haul. These are going to be books that I either bought or received during spring break. So let's start off. I have my Barnes & Noble bag. It is obviously off camera, but I have it right here next to me. The first thing is a bookmark from Barnes & Noble that explains both of the memberships that they have. So this side is the premium membership, which costs $40, and this one is the free membership, which are stamps, which so you get one stamp for every $10 of a purchase. And after you get 10 stamps, then you get a $5 reward. I got mine just recently. My $5 reward because I spent $119 on books. So that obviously I was able to get all of them, all 10 stamps, and yeah. And we have a Barnes & Noble book first. This is Die Trying by Lee Child. This is a Jack Reacher novel. I believe Jack Reacher is like an ex-military or whatever. With these types of books where it's just one like main character or like a mystery or thriller, like a detective or whatever, you don't have to read all of the books in order because none of them correlate with each other, really. So the blurb of this book is: when a woman is kidnapped off a Chicago street in broad daylight, Jack Reacher's in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's kidnapped with her. Handcuffed together and racing across America toward an unknown destination, they're at the mercy of a group of men demanding an impossible ransom. Because Reacher's female companion is worth more than he imagines, now he has to save them both from the inside out or die trying. This was actually a book that one of my friends first loaned me, and I just couldn't get into it, so this is my second shot with it. Yeah. Then then these next two are from my mom. So we have Never Tell by Lisa Gardner. This is like Jack Reacher, however, this is Detective Dee Dee Warren. So the blurb for this is: a man is dead, shot 3 times in his own home office, but his computer has been shot 12 times. And when the cops get there, his pregnant wife is holding the gun. Detective Dee Warren arrives on the scene and recognizes the woman, Evie Carter, from a case years back. Evie's father was killed in a shooting that was ruled an accident. But for Dee Dee, 2 coincidental murders is too many. Flora Dane sees the news of Conrad Carter's murder and immediately knows his face. She remembers the night when she herself was a victim and her captor knew this man. Now she's determined to learn the truth of Conrad's death. But Dee Dee and Flora are about to discover that in this case, the truth is a devilishly elusive thing. So I have always wanted to read a Lisa Gardner, like a Lisa Gardner book. And my mom has basically like 3 main authors she reads, and this is one of them. So, yeah. And then we have a scratched up spine. But this is Patricia Cornwell's Flesh and Blood. This follows along with the previous 2 books, where it's just one main person in the series, so you don't have to read all of them in order. They do not correlate with each other at all. However, this one is Case Scarpetta. And the book is titled Flesh and Blood. I have not read anything of this. My mom did say that it was quite a long read. Personally for her. Kind of calling her out. Whatever. So I'm excited. And then we have I completely forgot. The blurb for this book is Dr. Case Scarpetta is about to head to Miami for a vacation when she notices 7 pennies on a wall behind their home. Is this a kid's game? If so, why are all the coins dated 1981 and so shiny they could be newly minted? Then she learns there's been a homicide 5 minutes away. A high school teacher was shot with uncanny precision as he unloaded groceries from his car. Yet no one heard or saw a thing. Soon more victims surface. The shots seem impossible to achieve. Yet they are so perfect they cause death in an instant. There is no pattern to indicate where the killer will strike next. First it was New Jersey, then Massachusetts, and then the murky depths off the coast. Then she comes face to face with shocking news that implicates her niece, Lucy Scarpetta's own flesh and blood. Or Lucy Scarpetta's own flesh and blood. I'm kind of interested. Then we have the final Harry Potter installment in the Harry Potter series. This is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. For some reason, I had Half-Blood Prince in my head. But Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is the 19 years later story, that marks the official end, kind of. So, the 8th story, 19 years later. It's been 19 years since Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger saved the wizarding world. And now they're back on a most extraordinary adventure. Joined by a brave new generation that's only just arrived at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, while Harry grapples with a past that refuses to stay where it belongs, his youngest son, Albus, struggles with the weight of a family legacy he never wanted. As past and present collide, both father and son are locked in a race through time as they battle mysterious forces, all while the future hangs in the balance. Based on the original story by J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany, and Jack Thorne, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is a complete and unabridged play script of the award-winning West End production. Blah, blah, blah. So this is in the form of a script. I first read this in 5th grade, I kind of knew the gist of the Harry Potter series. I had listened to them through audiobooks, so I won this through a raffle, in my 5th grade class, So so it's kind of gonna be cool, like physically reading the books, the 7 original books, and then reading this right after. It'll be interesting. So yeah. So that was Barnes & Noble. Then we have, put all of them together. And then we have 3 books that I got from Target. So 2 of them are by the same author. The first one being The Best of Friends by Lucinda Berry. Best friends Lindsay, Kendra, and Danny endure every parent's nightmare when a tragic accident befalls their teenage boys, leaving one dead, another in a coma, and a third too traumatized to speak. Reeling from the worst night of their lives, the 3 mothers plunge into a desperate investigation of the bizarre incident. How could something so horrible happen in their wealthy Southern California suburb? They soon discover that the accident was just the beginning, and troubling discoveries lead to chilling questions. Do they really know their children? Do they even know each other? As more secrets surface, a fog of doubt and suspicion threatens to poison their families, their friendships, and the whole community. With the illusion of happiness and safety long gone, these women must now confront the hazards of heartbreak, the consequences of jealousy, and the dangers of living double lives. This, along with the 2 other books that are in this stack. I first listened to this as an audiobook on Audible. I just prefer having physical copies of things. So yeah, I'm excited to read the physical version of this. And then we have a second Lucinda Berry book. This one being The Secrets of Us. Foster sisters Crystal and Nicole have always been there for each other. And so when Nicole is committed to a psychiatric hospital after trying to kill her husband, Crystal drops everything to defend her. Scarred by a hard upbringing, Nicole and Crystal managed to construct comfortable lives for themselves. Crystal became a respected lawyer, and Nicole was happily married to an architect. Until Nicole starts raving that her husband isn't her husband, believing that he's an imposter. Driven by fierce loyalty, Crystal starts asking questions, but she's not sure she can bear the answers. Her investigation leads to the sisters' dark, shared past, to a horrible tragedy and a well-guarded lie that cemented their sisterly bond. But that lie can't tell the truth. The battered, gasping, clawing truth that's coming for them both. Now, Crystal and Nicole must both fight for the lives they've built before they're consumed by the one they left behind. Again, listen to this as an audiobook first. Something that I will say about Lucinda Berry's books is that they are like dark psychological thrillers. So if you can find anywhere that has content warnings, trigger warnings, please read them for the individual book that you're going to read of hers. You're probably going to want them. If there are any, you're probably going to want them. So yeah. Then I have a Colleen Hoover book. This one specifically being Regretting You. first listen to this as an audiobook, yada yada yada. So, Morgan Grant and her 16-year-old daughter, Clara, would like nothing more than to be nothing alike. Morgan is determined to prevent her daughter from making the same mistakes she did by getting pregnant and married way too young. Morgan put her own dreams on hold. Clara doesn't want to follow in her mother's footsteps. Her predictable mother doesn't have a spontaneous bone in her body. With warring personalities and conflicting goals, Morgan and Clara find it increasingly difficult to coexist. The only person who can bring peace to the household is Chris, Morgan's husband, Clara's father, and the family anchor. But that peace is shattered when Chris is involved in a tragic and questionable accident. The heartbreaking and long-lasting consequences will reach far beyond just Morgan and Clara. While struggling to rebuild everything that crashed around them, Morgan finds comfort in the last person she expects to, and Clara turns to the one boy she's been forbidden to see. With each passing day, new secrets, resentment, and misunderstandings make mother and daughter fall further apart, so far apart it might be impossible for them to ever fall back together. This is one of the thrillers, and I know that I always say if you want a good cry, go read Colleen Hoover. This kind of falls into that category. So yeah. Now we're on to just Barnes & Noble books. So the first one we have is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And apparently this one has a bonus chapter. So, as a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships. But her best friend does, and that's what got her into this situation. Convincing Ann that Olive is dating, and while on her way to a happily ever after, she always was and while on her way to a happily ever after, was always going to take more than hand-wavy Jedi mind tricks. Scientists require proof. So, like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. That man is none other than Adam Carlson, a young hotshot professor and well-known ass. Which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to help her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend. And when a big science conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. Suddenly, their little experiment feels dangerously close to combustion, and Olive discovers that the only thing more complicated than the hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under a microscope. So, I'm not really into the whole, school thing, school romances or whatever, but I feel like this one's gonna be cute. I've been wanting to read this for a really long time, so, yeah. Next we have, next and then the one after this, are also books I've been wanting to read for a really long time. The next one we have is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey Quaiston. Don't know if I'm saying her name correctly. Hopefully I am. So when his mother became president of the United States, Alex Claremont Diaz was promptly cast as the American equivalent of a young royal. Handsome, charismatic genius, his image is pure millennial marketing gold for the White House. There's only one problem. Alex has beef with an actual prince, Henry, across the pond. And when the tabloids get hold of a picture involving an Alex-Henry altercation, U.S.-British relations take a turn for the worse. Heads of family and state and other handlers devise a plan for damage control, stage a truce between the two rivals. What at first begins as a fake, Instagrammable friendship grows deeper and more dangerous than either Alex or Henry could have imagined. Soon, Alex finds himself hurling into a secret romance with a surprisingly unstuffy Henry that could derail the presidential campaign and upend two nations. It raises the question, can love save the world after all? Where do we find the courage and the power to be the people we are meant to be? And how can we learn to let our true colors shine through? So, usually I love going into books blindly, like completely blind. And so I feel like it's putting a damp onto me by reading these blurbs. But yeah, I've been wanting to read this forever. And yeah. The next one we have is one that I have to unconfuse myself from a whole lot. And that is The Spanish Love Deception by Elaine Arms. The reason why I have to unconfuse myself is because there's this, and then there's the Shatter Me series, but both of the MCs are named Aaron. So I have to differentiate between their last names. Like, oh yeah, Warner is Shatter Me, and Blackford is Spanish Love Deception. Don't ask me how I confuse myself with those, but I do. So, Catalina Martin desperately needs a date to her sister's wedding, especially since her little white lie about her American boyfriend has spiraled out of control. Now everyone she knows, including her ex and his fiancé, will be there and eager to meet him. She only has 4 weeks to find someone willing to cross the Atlantic and aid in her deception. New York to Spain is no short flight, and her Rachkis family won't be easy to fool. Enter Aaron Blackford, her tall, handsome, condescending colleague, who surprisingly offers to step in. She'd rather refuse. Never has there been a more aggravating, blood-boiling, and insufferable man. But Catalina is desperate, and as the wedding draws near, Aaron looks like her best option, and she begins to realize he may not be as terrible in the real world as he is at the office. I am super pumped to read this. Probably as my TBR, I have a specific TBR shelf, even though that my whole bookshelf is like a TBR. I'll probably just end up, like, my TBR shelf are books that I want to read right now. So I'll probably just shift this onto another shelf. But yeah. Then we have Katie Robert with Court of the Vampire Queen. I have let's just get to the blurb. All Mina ever wanted was to escape her father's control. Half human, half vampire, she lived internally torn between two worlds, never fully experiencing the pleasures of either, until her father chose her as the pawn in his latest political move, gifting her to the darkly powerful and dangerously seductive Malachi Zion. Malachi is not a vampire to be trifled with. He rules with an iron fist and has a reputation for the darkest of sins. But the longer Mina is with him, the more she realizes he's not the monster she first thought. And as fear bleeds into lust, then trust, then something more. Malachi opens Mina up to a world she never knew could be hers for the taking, including the love of Malachi's two closest friends and companions. Now surrounded by all three men, the center of their shockingly seductive world, Mina may finally have the power to face down her father and take back the life and crown that by all rights should be hers. This is a dark, wide shoes romance, and there are trigger warnings in this book, so please make sure to check the trigger warnings. Yeah. Hold on, let me... So, yeah. And as you may have noticed, all of these have been paperbacks, because paperbacks are cheaper than hardcovers. However, this last one is a hardcover because it's still a new release. And that is Dean Koontz's The House at the End of the World. And I have, again, this is another one where I've listened to the audiobook of, so yeah. In retreat from a devastating loss and crushing injustice, Katie lives alone in a fortress-like stone house on Jacob's Ladder Island. Once a rising star in the art world, she finds refuge in her painting. The neighboring island of Ring Rock houses a secret, a government research facility, and now two agents have arrived on Jacob's Ladder in search of someone or something they refuse to identify. Although an air of menace hangs over these men, an infinitely greater threat has arrived. One so strange even the island animals are in a state of alarm. Katie soon finds herself in an epic and terrifying battle with a mysterious enemy. But Katie's not alone after all. A brave young girl appears out of the violent squall. As Katie and her companions struggle across a dark and eerie landscape, against them is an omnipresent terror that could bring about the end of the world. So, yeah. Dean Koontz books are horror-ish. Or they are horror, because they were in the horror section of Barnes & Noble. But yeah, so if any of you ever catch me reading this or whatever, I doubt you guys will, but you will just see this. Which actually, the shiny. The birds on the front are shiny too, and there are also birds on the back that are, you guessed it, shiny. So, yeah. With that, if you guys want a bookshelf tour or whatever, I'll probably start reading my next book on here probably next Saturday, or this upcoming Saturday, I should say. And also I'm planning a bookshelf tour. So yeah. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Have a nice day.